I'm the best, so do not test the top of my profession. The master of my chosen field, of that there is no question.
Greetings, everybody. This is Malik Assad Jafar, philosophical philosopher and superstar. Let's jump right into it here. Today, I just want to kind of reintroduce myself, if you will, and what I mean by that is my pedigree. I want to kind of explain a little bit about my pedigree, who I am, how I become who I am, in a manner of speaking, in regards to my experience. Some people have inquired about my history and my skill set, and so I want to just provide some insight into this topic in particular. I wanted to entertain. I don't have to, of course, but I figured that I would entertain because I think it's important for people to know who is this guy that's giving me some life-changing dynamics. And so here's a brief history of me, and I mean brief. I lived in an urban community, if you will, growing up all the way up until the 9th grade. And after that, I moved to a rural community for the next 3 years of my life in high school. And that was consistent with what ended up taking place in my life, okay? Constantly moving, if you will, experiencing different socioeconomic, social dynamics, demographics, if you will. Moved to El Paso, or if you will, basically Mexico, stayed there for some time. It's funny, in order for me to get a job at McDonald's, I had to be bilingual, at least that's what they wanted me to be, and I did my best. And then I joined the military. So then after joining the military, I basically stayed in and got a lot of life experiences doing that. And from there, let me see. I think after I got out, I ended up doing like security. And then once I ended up doing security, and all types of security, I'm talking about from artists to clubs to working in hotels to apartment complexes, all interesting dynamics to say the least. There's a story in each one of those jobs for many days upon days. And then after that, I worked in child care services, or services that dealt with children that were abused. Lord, really, that dealt with abused children, and I did that for about 7 years or so. And it was an assessment center, and so basically we dealt with children who we were assessing the level of abuse and care that was being taken place at the home. And we were kind of we worked with CPS, if you will. The next thing after that, I worked in an intervention program that dealt with gang members, potential gang members, and also gang members. It was an intervention program that I did with that. Did that for a few years, and left that one, and I started working as a life coach, my passion, or a mentor, if you will. And started working as a mentor, and did that for quite some time. That was a very fulfilling job as well. And after that, for 10 years or so, I did addiction services, and I worked in addiction services. I say 10 years, is probably a little bit longer than that, but I worked to the degree that I was licensed to be able to provide services for individuals who were afflicted with the disease of addiction. Of course, got my bachelor's degree at that time, or during that time, or after that time, whatever the case is. And I also worked in a juvenile detention center for some years, 2 as a matter of fact. 2 or 3. And so shortly thereafter that, I started working as a probation officer in the capacity of an actual officer, of all people, right? And a counselor / officer, what have you. And so I did that for some years as well. What am I missing? Am I missing anything? I think that's pretty much it. But ultimately, what you do is when you look at my pedigree. And, you're talking about a 20-year span of life, living, and experience, and that's quite some time. When you think about it. In any event, I'd say about 12 of those years I spent dealing with the criminal population. But out of the whole 20 years, I've dealt with people from a criminal population as well as people without a criminal background. And what I've learned is that I like individuals who are not from a criminal vantage point, but the individuals who have experience in the criminal justice dynamic, they're forced into treatment. And people who are forced into treatment, when they get that eureka moment, when they get that aha moment where they want to start doing things differently, they've been forced. But when you get counseling from a person such as myself, the appreciation of someone who really gives a damn and cares about what they're doing in life, they let you know. You can see it, they exhibit it, and you're talking about long-lived admiration, and I wouldn't say dedication, but just appreciation for what it is that you've actually done for them. Now, not knocking people who end up paying for services, but of course, if you got an individual who's in denial of what's going on, if they would like to, if they decide that they want to do something different, so what do they end up doing? They pay somebody else. I actually had a guy one time before who was in a position where he did not like his wife was getting more treatment than he was. He came in, he had a lot of money, and I guess he thought as long as I pay for treatment and keep her quiet, as long as she's quiet and I'm paying for treatment, everything should be fine. But the problem was him, and he wasn't willing to do anything differently, and it was really uncomfortable as a family session is concerned, because ultimately the change that was going to end up having to take place for this young woman was that, she was codependent, was going to be, she was going to have to take care of herself in order to keep herself safe, because he wasn't willing to do that. I, of course, digress on that topic in particular, but I just wanted to kind of give everybody some insight on who this is behind the camera and what actually, after all of that, and there's probably some information that I did not put in, but after all of that, there's a lot of valuable insight that can be received and given by this man here, Malik Assad Jafar. So with that said, feel free to leave comments about questions in regards to my pedigree and what I've done and my experience, or if you just have questions about what other services I provide or what am I willing to do to be able to help you help yourself, feel free, leave it in the comments. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, be blessed, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
I'm the best, so do not test the top of my profession, the master of my chosen field, of that there is no question.